Today I'm going to be doing a video which I shall do in two parts. It's going to be very basic, and I'm showing you how I cut vinyl basically, and how I import a file into my machine, how I manipulate it and save it for either cutting on a CM or an SDX machine. And then the second part of the video will be how I cut the decal and how I ultimately adhere it to a mug. So we open up our Brother Canvas workspace. I'm actually using the desktop version, but there is an online version. And first and foremost, we'll see our mat, which is in the center of the page. At the top, we have File, Edit, Layer, and Display, which shows basically file is what it says. You can open and save files here. Edit means you can undo and paste and copy things. Layer is to group things and to duplicate and to show and hide and lock things. Display is to actually change your measurements, etc. But all that can be done from over on the right hand side. And then underneath this, unfortunately, with this videoing software I'm using at the moment, when I use a drop down menu, it doesn't actually show you what's under the menu, so I apologize for that. On the far left, we have a button where we can click to go back into our Canvas project if we want to pull anything from there into our file. We have our shapes, we have text, SVG, etc., and the other buttons I'm not going to be using today. So I don't like to work with my shapes on because it takes up some of my screen. So if you just click on this circle on the far and triangle on the far left, you'll see it actually gets rid of that. On the far right, we have properties, which is our color and fonts, etc. Then we have edit, which will give us our width and height of all our things if they're clicked on. Layers, which I'm not using today because that's a little bit more complicated. And finally, the artboard. At the moment, you can see the artboard is showing me that I have a 12 by 12 mat, which I can use on the CM or the SDX machine. If I click on there, we have the 12 by 24, or we have the rolled material, which is only for the SDX machine. So I'm going to start off with using a 12 by 12 mat. And here you can see I've got my width of my mat is 12 and the height is 12. Also on this side, you can see I've got the measurement in the units in inches. I can change that to millimeters if I wish to, but I'm actually going to use just inches today for the sake of this video. I can also show my ruler, and I think it's a good idea to show the ruler because you can measure things up against it and see that everything is as you wish. You also can turn on off the grid on the mat there, so you have that grid there. So if you wanted to actually go up and measure something precisely, you can see what it is. I will leave it on because it shows you the whole image. I'm sorry, I didn't mean grid, I meant the image. And then you can turn the lines off on the mat. But I like to use these lines because you can see where you're placing your image exactly on your mat. And then you have a grid. You can snap it to your grid. You can have this switched on or off. And then you can have your grid spacing from anything upwards of 1 inch, etc. I like to leave it as an inch because that's how it looks on my actual mat when I'm cutting. Up here you'll also see you can zoom in, or you can just use here, go up and down, so you can make your mat bigger. For the purposes of this, when I'm designing generally, I like to have it as big as possible. So first of all, I'm going to go import from my computer, which can be either from the file menu or from here. So I'm going to import an image, and I'm going to import it as an SVG and open the file. Now if I draw an imaginary box around this file, as you can see it's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and all of these pieces will move individually, which ultimately I don't want. I would like to be able to manipulate it separately. However, as to begin with, I just want to copy this particular part of the file. I could go up to edit and I could then do copy, but a much easier way is to just highlight the item, press the control key, CTRL, and copy. Oops, I've just gone into Control copy, and then Control V will paste it onto your mat. So I've made it a complete copy of that, or a complete duplicate. I want another shape a different way up. Maybe I'll have this one down here. So again, I go Control C and Control V. It places it normally in front, and I'm going to put that up as near as I can to there. Okay, so now I need to be able to work with this as one image, not as 5 individual images. So I'm going to place an imaginary box round it. Don't go over and include these two, because otherwise your size will be completely wrong. So I'm going to select all those, and then I'm going to do Control G. And as you can see, this has now taken all those boxes out, and it's one complete file that you can move around as one piece. Put it where you like. To actually do this, you would go up to layers if you wanted to do it in layers. I'm also going to group these two items here, and I'm going to go to Control G again, and as you can see, it makes them one file. I'm going to place this file in the center of my circle. Anyway, it doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be, as long as it's within the confines of this box here, as long as it's in with the confines of that box there. It doesn't matter exactly where it is. I need to now change the size of that file. So I'm going to go to the second box down here, which is Edit, and you'll see there's two lots of positions. You can position anywhere on your page with the X and Y. So if I was to just click on that, I can move that, and you can see that these values are changing. At the minute, I'm not interested in those. I'm interested in the width and the height, because I'm going to put this on a mug, and the mug is actually 3 inches from top to bottom. So I need this to be about 2.75 to go on my mug. I'm going to maintain an aspect ratio because this is not a complete circle. As you can see, it's 7.33 by 7.4. So I want this to decrease exactly. So all I need to do is highlight that or use the arrow buttons, and I'm going to make this 2.75 inches. And as you can see, it automatically changes the next size down. So I'm going to increase the size of my mat again, so I can actually see that the image is slightly bigger to manipulate. I'm going to click off there and then click back in and take these two items out, because now I no longer want those in the circle. Okay, I want a second copy of these now that they are smaller and they're the exact size. Had I not copied these in this box, this circle here, I would have had to guess at what size they are. But because I've copied them with this, they are an identical replica of these two items here. So I'm going to click copy, Control C, Control V, and now I have 2 copies of this, which I can just leave on the side. Next thing I want to do is I want to actually write a name. So I'm going to write the name John with a capital, obviously, John. And I wish to, then I'm going to go back up to, I have selected the font I want as well. You'll see that the font is up here. I can change my font. I can change whether it's regular or bold. I could also go into properties, and I could change my font here. Now I do find sometimes when I change a font that my desktop version will stop working for a little while, and I have to just wait for it to come back. It just says it's not responding. I've no idea if that's just my computer or if it works, if that happens with other people's computers. Anyway, I'm going to click back onto my select tool, or I can just press the option V, and I'm going to pick this up, and as you can see, it's much too big for what I want. It's far too big. So I'm going to leave it there and on the side, and with any of these 4 corners here, I can hold that, press my Shift key down, and at the same time I can make this smaller. And if I hold the Shift key down, I can make it bigger as well if I want. By holding the Shift key down, it actually constrains the whole item, so it's exactly the same. It doesn't move the sizes. If I was to move this in here, it would squish it all up, which is obviously what we don't want. if you do something like that and you wish to get out of that, all you have to do is press Control and the Z, and it comes back to how you had it before. I'm going to pick that up and think, this looks pretty good. That's what I want. So now I want to actually make sure that this word is perfectly in the center, both ways, middle and top to bottom. So I can select it all, and then I need to go back into Edit, and you can see here on the right hand side I've got these align objects. I've got align left, center, right, top, middle, bottom. You can also find these up in the layer button, which under arrange. So if you need to go up there to find them, that's where you can find them. So anyway, but you need both things selected. So I'm going to press on center, and then I'm going to press on middle. So they're both centered and middle. As you can see, this actually looks as if it's on off center. It is an optical illusion because of this particular leaf here. So for aesthetics, I'm just going to highlight that letter, that word, and I'm just going to move it maybe 4 spaces over, and then just have a look at it. And to me, that looks better. It also looks a little bit high to me, so I might just, with my down arrows, just take it down 3, and I'm quite happy with that. So I'm going to select that all, and I'm going to want to group that, so it's Control and G to group it. And now if I move that, it's not going to go anywhere. These can come over here. Oops, these can come here. Oops. It doesn't matter where they go, but I'm going to have them fairly close because when I cut them, I don't obviously want to waste any vinyl. So I might even turn that round slightly at a squiff, so that when it cuts, it's cutting in the same space. Another thing I might do actually, I might put a box around these items. You can actually ask it to put a bounding box around when you send it to cut, which would be in here. If I select it all and then go to cut, that's where it would ask you if you wanted a bounding box. Should do in here, but I can't see one anyway, so it matters not. Also, make sure in properties that your file is a cut file, not a draw file, because if it's a draw file, all it will do is draw it. You will not be able to cut it. So I'm going to, I think I should do these, actually I'm going to move these slightly over there. So I'm actually now going to bring up my shapes box. I'm going to pull out a square and I'm going to drop it on the page. Now this is much bigger than I need, so again I'm going to press my Shift and my arrow keys and bring it down and just pop it over the top of there, so that when you'll see it makes it much easier when you cut your file. It will just cut this square out of your vinyl and you don't have to try and weed all this out of your actual piece of vinyl. I might just select all and go back into Edit and Align Center and there, so that's easier. I'm also going to put a box around here. Now this, I'll show you how. Now here, as you can see, this is going to be much bigger. So if I take this off maintain ratio now, let's just pull this up so you can see it. Normally it's a square, so it's going to say as a square if you press the Shift key, but I don't want to maintain ratio, so I'm going to take that off now, and I'm going to make this maybe width maybe 2 inches, and as you can see it's actually just made it into a rectangle now, and that would be fairly well perfect. I can reduce this height maybe to 3.2. Yes, that will do nicely, and then I have now made my square into a rectangle by taking off the maintain ratio aspect. Again, I'm going to knock off my shapes by clicking over here. I'm going to select those two boxes and center and middle. Now, this is a deliberate mistake. Because those two items inside weren't grouped, they've actually managed to jump on top of each other. So I'm going to do Control Z to take them back to two pieces. Take that box off, select those and go Control G to group them. Now they're one item. So now I can put that, I don't even need to put that back over. I can select them all. I can go middle and middle. So they're all selected, and then I can go group, and then that will all stay together. So now I have my cutting file. Now I need to save this. So I go up to File, Save As, and then I'm going to call it what you like. So I might say mug decal CM for the CM machine. So save. Okay. So when I go to cut, I will just then go up to File. I will go down to Transfer File, FCM file via the internet, which you can't see, but I promise you it's there. Click on that, and then it will process that, and it will tell me that the registered machine is ready to download the transferred file from the internet. And then when I go and switch on my my computer upstairs, my cutting machine, then they're ready to cut. So that's saved for the CM machine. If I wish to actually cut this on the SDX machine on a roll feed, all I need to do is go back to my artboards, click on the artboard size and go down to rolled material if I want to use that particular item. As you see, this comes in very, very small. So I'm going to actually increase the size of the page again. You can use the arrow buttons. I'm just going to type in 100 there, and it will take it up to 100%. I now need to actually go over there and over there. Now this is where you can see, if you go into properties, into edit rather, if I select these two items, you can see that it's at 0.68, which is off the mat, and I'd obviously need to cut this off on the mat. Now I can move it to a specific area by just highlighting it and using it with my mouse held down, or I can actually put it in this. If I wanted to put it at 2 inches, I press 2 on there and enter, and if I wanted it to be 2 inches down for argument's sake, I put 2 there and it will go down 2 inches. Okay, I don't need to change the width or height of this because it'll be exactly the same as on your CM machines. Maybe I might like to just move that over a tad so that I'm not wasting any more material. I could then group it all if I wanted to. Control G. Oops, no, it's too many items. I could just move it manually then over to there, and it will cut on the same side. So then I'm going to go File, Save As, and then I will put mug decal .sdx and save, and it saves it as a CWPRJ file, whatever one of those is, don't ask me, but it's something to do with thing. Again, if I want to cut, when I want to cut this, I just go File and then Transfer via the internet. I'm not actually going to transfer via the internet at the moment because I want to go up and cut that other file for you first of all. So I shall do that in a short while. But that's basically it. That's in a nutshell. I don't think there's anything else I need to tell you about that. If you are having problems with your machines not responding when you go into text, I would suggest you possibly choose the text you want before you actually start. As you can see, I've got here John, Black Chancery. You click on this button here, it might start to not respond, which it's obviously not doing now because it's not showing. Oh, now it's showing me this. Okay, so this is where I can choose a new font. it won't change this font here because it's not selected, but if I was to go in and type John here, it's probably not going to do it now I've done it. So I'm going to select all and then go back up here or down in the other box and click on the font, and I can change it to, what should we change it to? Something really bizarre. This one here, I don't know what this one is. And as you can see, it's changed it immediately. So you can change it to whatever font you want. And again, you can, if you pull it like that, it pulls it directly. But if you press this one in, it squishes it up. You can lengthen it out or squish it up. So with the side ones, you come down, or you can go up, make it tall and thin if you want. So that's how you do it. And it's strange that that hasn't actually crashed my workspace at the moment. But if you get a problem, that's how you overcome it. You just have to wait for it. And then I can just select that. And as it's not a grouped file, I'm deleting it bit by bit. So there we go. I hope that is explanatory to you. And I shall see you in my next video to show you how I cut it out, and on both 12 by 12 mat, which will be for the CM, although it is on the SDX, but it would be identical, and on the roll feed. So I shall see you shortly.